In the world of Drakari, caravans of people once likened to the light of dawn suddenly transformed into mindless monsters. When the ancient city of Valisli welcomed its first walking corpse, an entire peaceful civilization was shocked to its core. And in desperation, they turned to Earth. On the planet Dravencia, home of the Drakari species, a purely peaceful race with advanced biomedical technology, the city of Valisli stood tall beside a metallic river. As the biomedical center of their civilization, it housed the finest minds dedicated to maintaining the long-standing peace with the Galactic Concord Alliance. The year was 2275 DC, Galactic Concord Standard Time, approximately 55 years after Earth's Great Pandemic. Inside the pristine halls of the Valisli Center for Pathobiological Research, Dr. Selin Ruve, the chief scientist and expert on Drakari immune systems, studied holographic data projections with intense concentration. His scaled fingers traced patterns in the air, manipulating complex molecular structures with practiced precision. "These cellular regeneration rates are promising," he murmured to himself, his voice carrying the melodic undertones characteristic of Drakari speech. "The Council will be pleased with our progress." Across the galaxy in the Harmony vessel, Ambassador Vahlak, the Drakari representative to the Galactic Concord Council, sat in dignified silence as debates regarding interstellar trade agreements droned on. His posture reflected both the pride and confidence typical of Drakarian diplomats, especially those who represented a civilization that had contributed some of the most advanced medical technologies to the Concord. The Vecti delegation requests additional time to consider the implications of the proposed tariff adjustments, announced a misty figure composed of swirling gases. Councillor Brethar of the Vecti species. Vahlak suppressed a sigh. The Vecti were always cautious to a fault, requesting extensions and additional data before making any decision. Still, he couldn't fault their thoroughness. It was that same methodical approach that had helped maintain peace among the diverse species of the Concord for over 5 centuries. Back on Dravencia, life continued as it had for generations. The Drakari society, built on principles of scientific advancement and peaceful cooperation, had never known large-scale outbreaks. Their medical systems were designed to handle weed plagues, corrosive plant species, and localized infectious diseases, but nothing had prepared them for what was coming. In a secured laboratory deep beneath Valisli, a batch of root fungi called Sylvestria crimson had been imported from a distant planetary system. Scientists were grafting it with Drakari cells in an experiment to create tissue-regenerating medication. Unknown to them, the fungus carried a viral variant that, when introduced to Drakari cells, created something entirely unexpected. "Sample S17 shows unusual neural activity," reported a lab technician, her scales reflecting the blue laboratory lights as she peered into a microscope. "The cellular degradation has reversed, but the mitochondrial function seems altered." Dr. Selin Ruve approached, curious about the anomaly. "Let me see the readings." What happened next would change the course of Drakari history forever. The sample, previously declared deceased animal tissue, twitched, then convulsed. Then, with a sudden lurch, the lab rat that had been pronounced dead 4 hours earlier rose on unsteady legs, its eyes clouded with milky film, its mouth dripping with viscous fluid. "Impossible," Ceylon whispered, backing away instinctively. Before anyone could react, the reanimated creature lunged at the nearest technician, sinking its teeth into her scaled arm. She screamed, pulling away and knocking over equipment in her panic. "Contain it!" Ceylon shouted, hitting the emergency quarantine button. Transparent barriers dropped from the ceiling, isolating sections of the lab, but it was already too late. The bitten technician began convulsing, her scales turning ashen gray within minutes. Ceylon watched in horror through the quarantine barrier as his colleague transformed. Her movements became erratic, then predatory. Her eyes, once bright with intelligence, now held only hunger as she attacked another researcher who had been trapped in the same section. Within hours, the entire sub-level laboratory was in chaos. Security footage showed laboratory staff turning on one another, the infection spreading with each bite. The building's automated systems had sealed the lower levels, but reports of similar incidents began coming in from other facilities that had received samples of the Sylvestria crimson. News spread rapidly through Vallesley. Citizens, having never faced such a crisis, reacted with disbelief and then panic. The peaceful streets that had known only order for generations descended into confusion as reports of attacks multiplied. Ambassador Vahlak received the emergency transmission during the council meeting, his composed demeanor crumbling as he processed the unthinkable information. With trembling hands, he rose to address the gathered representatives. "Esteemed members of the Concord," he began, his voice unusually strained. "I must regretfully inform you that Dravencia is facing an unprecedented biological crisis. Our preliminary reports indicate a zombie outbreak." The council chamber erupted in murmurs and exclamations. Zombies were the stuff of historical records and entertainment media, not a real threat in their advanced age. "That's impossible," declared the Vecti representative, Brethar, his gaseous form swirling more rapidly in agitation. "Your medical technology is among the most sophisticated in the Concord." "And yet," Vahlak replied grimly, "the evidence is undeniable. We require immediate assistance. Our medical teams are overwhelmed, and the infection is spreading faster than we can contain it." "What kind of assistance do you request?" asked the Zen delegate, a crystalline being whose voice resonated like wind chimes. Vahlak hesitated, knowing his next words would be controversial. "Earth specialists. Their civilization survived a zombie pandemic. They have practical experience we lack." The chamber fell silent. Earth, while a member of the Concord, was often viewed with suspicion by older member species. The humans' violent history and their brutal but effective response to their own pandemic had earned them a reputation for being both resilient and ruthless, qualities that made many Concord members uncomfortable. Earth, Brethar's form darkened. They committed atrocities on their own planet during their outbreak. "Yet they survived," countered the Zen delegate. "To be honest, we only know about biological warfare through textbooks." The corollary representative, a silicon-based life form, spoke hesitantly. "Galactic medical curricula have never addressed severe zombie cases. We need them." After heated debate, the council reluctantly agreed. Earth's Zombie Apocalypse Special Task Force would be deployed to Dravencia immediately. Back in Vallesley, Dr. Selen Ruv fought his own battle, not just against the spreading infection, but against his pride. As he watched the city, he loved descend into chaos. He questioned whether he should sign the official request for Earth's assistance. His education had included studies of Earth's history, including their brutal survival during the Great Pandemic. The thought of inviting those who had resorted to such violence, even if in the name of survival, went against everything he believed about civilized society. Yet, as another report came in of an entire residential complex overtaken by the infected, Selan made his decision. He activated his communication panel and recorded his official endorsement of Ambassador Vahlak's request. "This is Dr. Selen Ruv, Chief Scientist of the Vallesley Pathobiological Research Center. I formally request the immediate deployment of Earth's pandemic response specialists to Dravencia. Our situation is dire." He paused, swallowing his pride. "We need their experience. We need their help." On Earth. The alert came through to the headquarters of the Immunized Battalion, a specialized force composed of survivors from Earth's great pandemic and their descendants. Commander Maya Harlow was reviewing training protocols when the message arrived. "Commander," her aide said. "Priority communication from Concord High Command. The Drakari are experiencing a zombie outbreak. They're requesting our intervention." Maya's expression hardened. At 45, she carried both the physical and emotional scars of Earth's pandemic. She had been just a child when it began, but old enough to remember the world before and to fight in the world that came after. "Assemble the team," she ordered, already moving toward the briefing room. "I want our best on this. And alert Dr. Patel. We'll need his expertise on viral structures." Within hours, a specialized team had been assembled. Commander Maya Harlow, a veteran of Earth's pandemic and the #1 in the Pandemic Response Force, known for being ruthless but effective. Dr. Rohan Patel, son of pioneers in Earth's vaccine research. His knowledge of zombie virus structures was considered gold for Dravencia. Jackson Reed, shotgun specialist and expert in heavy zombie combat tactics. Lost his family due to hesitation during the Great Pandemic. Len Xiao, demolitions expert whose specialty was high-temperature bombs to eliminate concentrated infection nests and destroy high-concentration zombie remains. Zara Katan, a female officer who survived from Lorendia, a plant-based planet that had experienced a viral outbreak. With experience being surrounded by zombies on the field of transformation. She served as a bridge between Earth and Dravencia. The Concord Support Unit, including representatives from Zen, Vecti, and Corallari, who knew how to mediate, bringing non-lethal equipment and medical intelligence. Before departure, the team underwent intensive preparation. Maya conducted briefings on engagement protocols, emphasizing the 3-second rule: neutralize the brain before it can bite anyone. "We're not going there to make friends," she told her team during the final briefing. "We're going there to stop an outbreak before it becomes an extinction event. The Drakari may not like our methods, but they'll thank us when they're still alive to complain about it." Dr. Patel shared data on the Drakari physiology they had received, highlighting potential challenges. Their cellular structure is more complex than ours, with multiple redundant systems. If the infection follows typical patterns, the zombies may be more resilient than what we faced on Earth. Reed demonstrated weapon modifications designed for Drakari zombie physiology based on the limited information they had received. Their natural scales will provide some protection, which means standard ammunition might not be effective. We're bringing armor-piercing rounds and high-temperature incendiaries. Len Xiao reviewed demolition strategies for urban environments, explaining how controlled detonations could create fire breaks to contain infection zones. As they prepared to board the Earthwind vessel, Maya took a moment to address the Concord representatives who would accompany them. "I understand you have concerns about our methods," she said bluntly. "But when you're facing a zombie, non-lethal approaches get people killed. You can observe from a safe distance, or you can learn how to survive. Your choice." The journey to Dravencia took several days, even with the Earthwind's advanced propulsion systems. During that time, reports from Vallesley grew increasingly dire. The infection had spread beyond the initial containment zones, and large sections of the city were now under quarantine. Drakari authorities, unfamiliar with the aggressive tactics needed to contain such an outbreak, were losing ground hourly. When the Earthwind finally entered Dravencia's atmosphere, the view that greeted them was one of smoke and chaos. The once pristine skyline of Vallesley was marred by columns of purple smoke rising from burning buildings. Emergency beacons flashed across the city, and the communications channels were filled with distress calls. "Find us a secure landing zone," Maya ordered the pilot. "Preferably close to a government or medical facility where survivors might be gathered." The ship circled the city, sensors scanning for signs of organized resistance. Finally, they identified a defendable position, the rooftop landing pad of the Imperial Biolab Tower, where energy barriers still functioned, keeping the infected at bay. As the Earthwind touched down, Maya addressed her team one final time. Remember your training. Move fast, stay alert, and don't hesitate. Hesitation gets you killed, and then you become the enemy. The moment the ship's ramp lowered, the reality of the situation hit them with full force. The air was thick with the acrid smell of burning synthetic materials and the distinctive sweet rot odor that all of Earth's veterans recognized instantly. The smell of zombie decay. Scattered across the landing pad were the bodies of Drakari security personnel who had fought to keep the area secure. Some showed the characteristic wounds of zombie attacks, torn throats, missing limbs, while others had been properly neutralized with head wounds. "Someone here knows what they're doing," Reed observed, sweeping the area with his modified shotgun. "Let's find them," Maya replied. "They might be our best local resource." The team moved cautiously into the building, finding signs of a hasty barricade at the main entrance to the roof. Inside, they encountered their first group of survivors, approximately 20 Drakari scientists and security personnel, who had fortified the top 3 floors of the tower. Their leader stepped forward, a Drakari female with emerald scales and exhausted eyes. "You must be the Earth delegation," she said in flawless standard. "I am Chief Security Officer Marion. We've been holding this position for 3 days, but supplies are running low, and we have wounded." Maya took in the makeshift medical station where injured Drakari were being treated. "Any bites among the wounded?" Marion's expression hardened. "We know the protocols. Those who were bitten were dealt with." Maya nodded with newfound respect. "Good. We need to speak with whoever's in charge of your research facilities. We need to understand what we're dealing with." "That would be Dr. Selin Ruv," Marion replied. "He's 2 floors down in the emergency lab, working on analyzing the infection." Before they could continue, a commotion erupted from the stairwell, the sound of gunfire and shouting. Reed and Xiao immediately moved to defensive positions as Marion's security team reinforced the barricades. "They've breached the 52nd floor," one of the Drakari guards reported. "The barricade didn't hold." "How many?" Maya asked, already checking her weapon. "At least 30 infected," the guard replied grimly. "Maybe more." Maya turned to her team. "Patel, stay here with the Concord representatives. Help with the wounded if you can. Reed, Xiao, Catan, you're with me. We're going to secure that stairwell." The 4 of them moved quickly down the emergency stairs, encountering their first Drakari zombies on the landing between floors. Maya was struck by how different, yet familiar they appeared. The basic characteristics of zombies were universal. It seemed. The milky eyes, the uncoordinated yet relentless movements, the inhuman vocalizations. But the Drakari zombies possessed features that made them uniquely dangerous. Their natural scales provided protection that human zombies lacked, and their reptilian anatomy meant different vulnerable points. "Aim for the junction between the head and neck," Maya called out as they engaged. "Their skull plates are too thick for conventional rounds." The team fought with the efficiency of those who had trained together for years. Reed's shotgun blasts kept the horde at bay, while Catan and Maya picked off individual threats with precision shots. Xiao worked quickly to set up a portable barrier that would funnel the infected into a killing zone. When the immediate threat was neutralized, Maya contacted Marion. "Stairwell is clear for now, but we need a more permanent solution. Is there any way to seal off the lower floors completely?" "The building has emergency bulkheads," Marion replied, "but they can only be activated from the central security station on the 50th floor." "Then that's our next objective," Maya decided. "We secure a path to Dr. Ruv, then to the security station." As they fought their way down to the laboratory level, Maya was struck by the ferocity of the Drakari zombies. They were faster than Earth zombies had been, and their natural weaponry, claws and teeth evolved for an omnivorous diet, made them deadly, even without the infection. When they finally reached the laboratory, they found Dr. Selin Ruv and a small team of scientists working frantically amid holographic displays showing molecular structures. Selin looked up as they entered, his expression changing from surprise to cautious relief. "The Earth team, I presume. Your arrival is timely. We've identified some concerning characteristics of the infection." Maya approached, maintaining a professional distance. "Commander Maya Harlow, Earth Immunized Battalion. What can you tell us about what we're facing?" Selin gestured to the displays. "The infection originated from a fungal sample, Sylvestria crimson, that was being studied for regenerative properties. Something in the fungus activated a dormant virus in our cellular structure, creating a hybrid pathogen we've never encountered before." "How does it spread?" Maya asked, the most critical information for containment. "Initially through fluid exchange, bites, open wounds," Selin explained. "But it's evolving. The latest cases suggest airborne transmission is possible, though less efficient." Maya's expression darkened. "Airborne is a game changer. We need to adjust our containment strategy." She activated her comm. "Patel, I need you down in the lab. Bring your sampling kit." When Dr. Patel arrived, he and Selin immediately fell into scientific discussion, comparing notes on viral structures and potential weaknesses. Despite the cultural differences, their shared scientific background provided common ground. Meanwhile, Maya coordinated with Marion to develop a plan for securing the building and establishing a forward operating base. The Imperial Biolab Tower would serve as their command center for retaking Valisley. As Maya reviewed building schematics with Reed and Xiao, planning their route to the security station, Ambassador Vahlak arrived with the conquered delegation. His once immaculate diplomatic attire was now soiled and torn, and his proud bearing had given way to exhaustion. "Commander Harlow," he greeted her formally, "I must express both my gratitude for your prompt response and my concern regarding your methods." Maya straightened, meeting his gaze directly. "With respect, Ambassador, your concern is noted but irrelevant. We're here to stop this outbreak using proven methods. If you find those methods distasteful, I suggest you focus on evacuation protocols for your uninfected citizens." Vahlak bristled at her tone. "The Drakari value all life. Surely there must be ways to contain the situation without such brutality." Before Maya could respond, a wounded Drakari scientist spoke up from nearby. "Ambassador, I witnessed my colleagues transform. There was nothing left of them to save. The humans are right. This is no longer about preservation, but survival." The tension was interrupted by an alert from the security systems. The infected had begun gathering at the base of the tower in unprecedented numbers, drawn by the concentration of living beings above. "We need to move now," Maya decided. "The security station first, then we establish a perimeter. Ambassador, you and your delegation should remain here with Dr. Patel and continue coordination with conquered forces." Despite Vahlak's objections, Maya led a team consisting of Reed, Xiao, Katan, and several Drakari security officers down toward the 50th floor. The journey through the partially secured building was harrowing, with skirmishes against small groups of infected at almost every turn. When they reached the security station, they found it partially overrun. After a brutal close-quarters battle, they secured the room, allowing Marion to activate the emergency bulkheads. The massive metal barriers slid into place throughout the building, isolating the upper floors from the infection below. "That should hold them," Marion said, though her voice lacked conviction. "At least long enough for us to develop a broader strategy." Maya nodded, but her attention was on the security feeds showing the streets around the tower. The situation outside was worse than she had anticipated. Thousands of infected Drakari roamed the once beautiful avenues of Valisley, with pockets of survivors visible in various fortified locations across the city. We need to coordinate with those survivor groups, she said. Establish safe corridors, gathering points for evacuation. And then what? Asked one of the Drakari officers. Even if we evacuate the survivors, our city is lost. One step at a time, Maya replied. First, we secure what we can. Then we take it back, block by block if necessary. Over the next few days, the Earth team worked with the Drakari survivors to establish a defensible perimeter around the tower. Using techniques developed during Earth's pandemic, they created barriers and traps designed to manage the infected population while conserving ammunition and resources. Dr. Patel and Selan Ruv made progress in analyzing the infection, identifying key vulnerabilities in the virus structure. They began work on a temporary vaccine that might provide short-term immunity, buying time for evacuations. But tensions simmered beneath the surface of this cooperation. Ambassador Valak and other Drakari officials were visibly disturbed by the Earth team's ruthless efficiency in dealing with the infected. The humans showed no hesitation in destroying what had once been people, colleagues, friends, family members to the Drakari survivors. The cultural clash came to a head during a mission to rescue a group of civilians trapped in a nearby residential complex. Maya's team had fought their way to the survivors, only to discover that one of them had been bitten but had concealed the wound. We can't bring them back, Maya stated flatly, raising her weapon. Wait, a Drakari official accompanying them stepped forward. Surely we can quarantine them, study the progression, perhaps find a cure. There is no cure for someone already turning. Maya cut him off. I've seen this before. Hesitation costs lives. This is not your world, Commander, the official argued. These are our people, and we will not abandon them to your barbarity. The infected Drakari began showing symptoms even as they argued, the characteristic tremors and discoloration spreading from the bite wound. Maya stepped forward, weapon raised. You have 3 seconds to move aside, she said quietly. The standoff was broken by Dr. Selan Ruv, who had accompanied them on the mission to collect samples. Both of you, enough, he said, moving between them. He turned to the infected Drakari, speaking gently in their native language. After a brief exchange, he administered an injection. A sedative, he explained to Maya. It will ease their passing. Now, Commander, you may proceed. The compromise satisfied neither party entirely, but it allowed the mission to continue. As they escorted the remaining survivors back to the tower, Selan walked alongside Maya. Your methods are harsh, Commander, but I begin to understand their necessity, he admitted. Still, we must find balance between survival and retaining our humanity. Humanity is a luxury, Maya replied, her eyes scanning the ruined streets. One you can reclaim after survival is assured. As they continued their efforts to secure Valisli, Dr. Patel made a disturbing discovery. The viral samples from different areas of the city showed slight but significant variations. The pathogen was adapting rapidly, becoming more efficient at both transmission and cellular takeover. This isn't natural evolution, he explained during an emergency briefing. The rate of mutation suggests deliberate engineering. Are you suggesting this outbreak was intentional? Ambassador Valak asked, his scales paling. The evidence points in that direction, Patel confirmed. Someone designed this virus to target Drakari physiology specifically. The revelation cast a shadow over their operations. If the outbreak was engineered, it meant they weren't just fighting against a natural disaster, but an act of biological warfare. Maya immediately tightened security protocols and ordered a thorough review of all communication logs and research data from before the outbreak. Meanwhile, Selan and Patel intensified their efforts to understand the virus's origins. Their breakthrough came from an unexpected source, Zara Katan, reviewing security footage from the original laboratory where the outbreak began, noticed irregularities in how the Sylvestria samples had been handled. The containment protocols were deliberately compromised, she reported. Someone wanted that fungus to come into contact with Dracari tissue samples. Further investigation revealed that the fungal samples had been sent from a research outpost in the Sylvestria system, but the shipment records had been altered to obscure their true origin. When they traced the authorization codes, they led to a shocking discovery. Councillor Brethar of the Vecti delegation had signed off on the sample transfer. "This can't be right," Ambassador Valak insisted when presented with the evidence. "Brethar has been a Concord councillor for decades. Why would he orchestrate an attack on Dravencia?" "Perhaps he's not working alone," Maya suggested grimly. "We need to apprehend him for questioning." But Brethar was already one step ahead of them. When Concord security forces attempted to locate him, they discovered he had left the Harmony vessel shortly after the outbreak began, ostensibly to coordinate relief efforts for Dravencia. Intelligence reports placed him somewhere in Vallislee, but the chaos of the outbreak made tracking him nearly impossible. Until, that is, a massive energy signature was detected in the sublevels beneath the city center. "It's coming from the central water purification facility," Salon explained, examining the readings. "That system connects to the entire city." The implications were clear and terrifying. If Brethar introduced the enhanced virus into the water supply, the infection would spread beyond any hope of containment. Maya assembled a strike team immediately, including Reed, Xiao, Catan, and a squad of Dracari security forces led by Marion. Dr. Ceylon insisted on joining them, arguing that his knowledge of the facility's layout and the virus itself would be crucial. "This isn't a scientific expedition, Doctor," Maya warned him. "Once we're down there, we follow military protocols." "Understood, Commander," Ceylon replied solemnly. "But this is my world, my people. I need to see this through." The team descended into the underground network beneath Vallislee, a labyrinthine system of maintenance tunnels and processing chambers that had become a perfect breeding ground for the infection. The confined spaces and limited visibility made every step treacherous. They encountered resistance almost immediately, not just from ordinary infected, but from a new variant. These zombies moved with greater coordination and seemed to react to sound with frightening precision. "They're evolving," Ceylon whispered, horrified. "The virus is adapting to enhance their hunting capabilities." "Less talking, more moving," Maya ordered, signaling the team forward. As they approached the central purification chamber, the number of infected increased dramatically. Reed's shotgun and Xiao's explosive charges created openings in the hordes. But ammunition was running low, and fatigue was setting in. Finally, they reached the massive chamber housing the city's water filtration systems. Inside, they found Brethar, but not as they expected. The Vecti counselor was encased in a sophisticated environmental suit, his gaseous form swirling visibly within as he worked at a control panel attached to a large cylindrical device. "Brethar," Valak called out, having insisted on accompanying the team despite Maya's objections. "What are you doing? Why have you betrayed the Concord?" Brethar turned, his environmental suit's speakers projecting his voice. "Betrayed? No, Ambassador. I serve a higher purpose, one that transcends your limited understanding of peace." "He's working for someone else," Maya realized aloud. "Who is it?" "Brethar. Who ordered this attack?" Brethar's form seemed to pulse with amusement. "The Shapers have observed your civilizations for centuries, watching you fumble toward a false unity. The Concord is built on a foundation of weakness, of compromise. True peace can only exist when all life is under proper control." "The Shapers?" Selen questioned. "I've never heard of such a species." "Because they do not wish to be known," Brethar replied. They work through agents like me, testing and preparing. This virus is merely the first wave, a test of effectiveness across species barriers. After Dravencia falls, modified strains will be deployed throughout conquered space. As he spoke, Brethar continued manipulating the device, clearly the delivery mechanism for an enhanced version of the virus. Maya signaled to Reed and Xiao, who began moving to flanking positions while she kept Brethar talking. And what do the Shapers gain from this? Ruling over a galaxy of zombies seems pointless. Not zombies, Brethar corrected. Tools. The Alpha Drac strain doesn't just reanimate. It creates vessels that can be directed, controlled. Imagine armies that feel no pain, require no sustenance beyond the occasional organic matter, and follow orders without question. Selan was horrified. You're talking about slavery on a galactic scale. I prefer to think of it as evolutionary direction, Brethar replied. Now, I'm afraid our conversation must end. The secondary wave is ready for deployment. He pressed a final sequence into the panel, and the cylindrical device began to hum with increasing intensity. Reed took aim, but Brethar was prepared. He activated a personal shield that deflected the shotgun blast. Conventional weapons? How predictable, Brethar mocked. The Shapers have provided me with defenses against all your primitive tools. What Brethar hadn't counted on was Jackson Reed's experience with advanced technology. During their preparations, Reed had identified the power signature of Vecti energy shields and modified his ammunition accordingly. His next shot didn't aim for Brethar directly, but for the power cell of the shield generator visible on Brethar's back. The shield flickered and died, leaving Brethar exposed. In the moment of surprise, Maya charged forward, tackling the environmental suit before Brethar could react. They struggled on the platform above the water treatment reservoir, Brethar's suit systems giving him enhanced strength. The device is still counting down, Selan shouted, examining the cylinder. We have less than a minute before it releases the virus. Xiao rushed to the device, his demolition expertise immediately put to use. I can't disarm it without triggering an immediate release. We need to contain it somehow. Maya, still grappling with Brethar, heard this and made a split-second decision. With a powerful surge, she forced both herself and Brethar toward the edge of the platform, intentionally off balance. Commander, no! Catan shouted, realizing Maya's intention. But it was too late. Maya and Brethar toppled over the edge, plunging toward the reservoir below. At the last moment, Maya pushed away from Brethar, allowing Reed to grab her arm, while Brethar fell into the churning waters, his environmental suit rupturing on impact. The team quickly pulled Maya to safety, but the device was still counting down. The water containment chamber, Selan suggested urgently. If we can move the device there and seal it, the treatment chemicals will neutralize the virus. Working together, they detached the cylinder and raced to the adjacent chamber, sealing it inside with just seconds to spare. When the device detonated, releasing its viral payload, it was contained within the isolated treatment system, where powerful disinfectants destroyed the pathogen before it could spread. With Brethar neutralized and the secondary attack prevented, the team regrouped to assess their next steps. The threat from the Shapers was now clear, but questions remained about how deeply they had infiltrated conquered institutions and what other attacks might be planned. For now, though, the immediate priority remained the containment and eradication of the existing outbreak in Valisli. With the evidence of deliberate engineering, Dr. Patel and Selan were able to target their vaccine development more effectively, creating a temporary immunization that could protect the remaining uninfected population. Over the following weeks, the combined forces of Earth's Immunized Battalion and Drakari Security systematically cleared Valisli sector by sector. Len Xiao's high-temperature explosive charges proved particularly effective at eliminating large concentrations of infected in the underground sections of the city. The operation was not without losses. During a mission to secure a crucial power distribution center, Zara Katan became separated from her team when a structural collapse cut off their escape route. Rather than risk the others, she held position at a narrow checkpoint, allowing the team to retreat while she faced an overwhelming horde of infected. Her sacrifice was mourned by both Earth and Drakari personnel, a symbol of the unity that had developed despite their cultural differences. Ceylan later named a research wing at the rebuilt Vallesley Center after her, ensuring her contribution would be remembered. As the immediate crisis in Vallesley was brought under control, attention turned to the broader implications of the Shaper threat. Ambassador Vahlak, humbled by the experience and impressed by Earth's response despite his initial misgivings, became a vocal advocate for increased cooperation between all conquered species. In a historic address to the Conquered Council, he formally proposed that Earth be granted full membership status, elevating them from their previous observer position to becoming the 51st recognized member species. The people of Earth have demonstrated not just their resilience and expertise in crisis management, he told the assembled representatives, but their commitment to protecting all sentient life, even those who initially viewed them with suspicion. Their methods may differ from our established protocols, but their results and their sacrifice speak for themselves. The proposal faced opposition, particularly from species that remained uncomfortable with humanity's more aggressive approach to problem-solving. But the reality of the Shaper threat, and the recognition that conventional conquered defenses had been wholly inadequate against the zombie outbreak, eventually swayed the vote. 1 year after the Vallesley outbreak, Earth was formally inducted into the Galactic Concord as a full member. The ceremony, held in the Concord capital, was attended by representatives from all member species, with Commander Maya Harlow given the honor of accepting Earth's membership credentials. Following the ceremony, Maya was offered a position as director of the newly established Galactic Pandemic Response Force, with headquarters to be built in the original Chicago, once the epicenter of Earth's great pandemic. The Galactic Plague Academy, as it came to be known, incorporated architectural elements from Drakari, Zen, Corollary, and Earth designs. Its first class of 500 cadets from various species began training in protocols for zombie containment, cross-species negotiation, and multi-species vaccine development. Dr. Selin Ruv, now serving as chief advisor on pandemic genetics, worked alongside Dr. Patel to ensure that the knowledge gained from the Vallesley outbreak would serve to protect all conquered species from similar threats in the future. Standing on a balcony overlooking the academy grounds, Maya watched the diverse group of cadets training below. She thought back to the devastation of Earth's pandemic 55 years earlier, the collapsed civilizations, the billions lost, the desperate struggle for survival that had forged humanity into the resilient species it had become. "We didn't just survive by luck," she murmured to herself, "but through the lessons of courage." The next day, a specialized exploration team descended to the Sylvestria system, the planetary wing that had originally provided the samples. There, they discovered the remnants of a Shaper outpost, including pictographic signs suggesting that, while this cell had been neutralized, the entity was far from defeated. As Maya reviewed their findings, she recognized that the battle against the dark entity was far from over. But now, with Earth formally integrated into the Conquered and the lessons of Vallesley fresh in everyone's minds, they would face whatever came next, not as separate species, but as a united front. "The Shapers wanted to test our weaknesses," she told the assembled commanders of the new response force. "Instead, they revealed our greatest strength, our ability to overcome differences and stand together against any threat." The Drakari commander nodded in agreement, the scales around his eyes crinkling in what Maya had come to recognize as a smile. "From death came life," he said, quoting an ancient Drakari proverb. From division came unity. As preparations began for a proactive mission to investigate other potential Shaper outposts, Maya felt a sense of purpose that transcended her original mission. The zombie outbreak on Dravencia had been contained, but it had revealed a greater threat and a greater opportunity for the diverse species of the Conquered to forge a stronger alliance than ever before. The dawn that had once seemed darkest had given way to a new beginning for Earth, for Dravencia, and for the entire galactic Conquered.